right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces here. This is, I think, the best turnout we've had, at least as far as people signing up so far in the past year or so. So this is nice. I think we're gonna have a real good talk tonight. I don't want to overplay it, but I think it's gonna be a good talk. So anyway, let's get this started. I want to thank DefectDojo for bringing the food and the refreshments, and of course, as always, Cogency Global for providing the venue. So thank you. Now, of course, this is the local chapter of the International OWASP group. We always need help as a small chapter, spreading the word or helping organize get-togethers like this. We'd also love to do things like capture the flag tournaments. I know people have expressed an interest in that before. Very difficult to put those things on. So if any of you have any interest or expertise in doing something like that, please let us know.
Or have a talk you might want to give.
Yes, exactly. Anything tangentially related to security, we'll consider. As long as it's not, too much of a vendor talk. We need to stay vendor neutral. This doesn't count because this is different. Or if you want to volunteer, help set these things up, that'd be great too. And also, OWASP in general has a bunch of AppSec projects. They're always looking for new things to do, or more people to help run the existing ones. So there's a whole website out there. If you haven't been out to OWASP.org, I invite you to go out there and just start browsing. A lot of fun stuff. These are all of our links. I just tell people if you don't want to memorize these links, just type OWASP-MSP into a search engine and you'll find them. We're at the top of the lists. There's always membership available. You don't need to be a member to come to these meetings. No need for that. But if you want to support the cause, there's the links for those. And also coming up is the annual Secure 360 conference. We will have a booth there, as we usually do. Let's see, it's run by the local UMSA organization. They do a fantastic job. It's a pretty inexpensive conference to get to, and there's a lot of great talks there. And I'm not just saying that because I'm giving a couple, but they'll be good too. What's that?
Is it local or?
Yes, it's local. Sorry, I meant to put that on this slide. They hold it down at Mystic Lake Casino Conference Center.
They also get national speakers, so they have a very, very good selection of speakers and talks. It's very much worth your money.
You can look, they have past years' conference notes on there if you want to see the kind of talks that are usually given. But it's all sorts of talks ranging from the extremely technical to the not so much, from everything you can imagine.
Great.
Okay. So check that out. Just for being here, you can ask for CPE, or you can earn CPEs toward whatever cert you're working on or have to maintain. Just reach out if you need some kind of certificate or email or something like that. Okay, and now without further ado, here's Tracy Walker, Principal Solutions Architect with DefectDojo, to talk about some amazing stuff related to AI and parser generators.
Yeah, it looks like somebody used AI to generate that description.
I just copied.
I know. I was reading it for the first time myself, and I'm like, I hope this has everything in there.
Well, if nothing else, we can always edit it later.
Exactly.
Hopefully I didn't mess up your...
Not at all.
All right, so thank you for coming.
Awesome. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Hi, Joran. My name is Tracy Walker. I'm going to take the glasses off because then I can't see the screen. I'm an employee at DefectDojo. Yeah, I can talk about myself briefly. Thank you for coming. I know coming in the evenings, you're away from your family or other things you'd probably rather be doing. So I'll try to make this really interesting and fun. This is the first time I've given this presentation, so I'm a little nervous because I've cobbled together some stuff. This is going to be more of a journey of how I have learned to use AI and applied it to some real use cases that we have been able to incorporate into DefectDojo, which is an OWASP-sponsored open source project. So if you're not familiar with DefectDojo, we're definitely working with OWASP and they're supporting DefectDojo. I'll explain that in a little bit. Oh my gosh, can I remember all the things? So I've been in IT for 31 years. 27 years I've been working with open source software. So in some form or fashion, in the 90s, we were moving to Java, and it was the first time I'd seen Linux, and I was like, oh, something better, alternative to Solaris and HPUX, so we don't have to pay for it. 19 years in software development, operations, roughly 10 years in startups. So I've had a lot of experience in small companies trying to make things grow. 3 years, I had one about one wheel here, but and talking with my wife, 3 years is about how long this presentation will feel like if I don't get moving. Have been working with AI for about 2 years, mainly like ChatGPT, Claude, lately DeepSeek, doing some comparisons. I've been with DefectDojo for 7 months, was formerly with SUSE. Thank you guys. Love SUSE. And my former boss and colleagues. And 3 months have been working and dabbling on this project, on this idea that I'm now going to share with you. And then some other stuff. If you recognize what those things are, go as. So like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I'm here to expose that I don't really know what I'm doing, and then I've been trying to figure this stuff out. And so maybe by seeing this, you'll be like, oh, or you might come up afterwards and be like, you should try this. My wife was struggling with this copying, or she was moving a graphic around and she was really struggling with it. And I was like, here, let me help you with that. And she was like, stop, how did you do that? And she had been using 2 fingers for 10 years instead of just the 1 finger to move things, So it's that kind of, sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you see somebody else do it, and then you get to learn about it. So no ego here. All right, so here's the journey that we're going to take a little bit together. It shouldn't feel like a journey. We are going to talk a little bit about the tool we're talking about, but the things that I'm doing with this tool, I think you can extend to any open source or commercial tool at all. So we'll talk a little bit about the things where I recognize where we could extend the tool, improve documentation, things like that. We'll talk about what I was trying to do. So this is all the things that we'll talk to. Here at the last few will probably be more in Claude, and I wasn't sure how big the TVs were going to be, so I don't know that you'll be able to see all of my prompts. I do have a cash reward. If anybody spots any curse words or me chewing out the AI in an immature fashion, I will pay you to find those if you happen to see them on a screen, because I'm doing this talk again in 2 days to a recorded audience and I don't want to see those. So yes, there is a prize to be won. All right, so it does help to understand the tool that we're working with, and this is not really a sales pitch. It's open source. You can see all the stuff here. The big one is the 400 contributors. This project has been around for about 10 years. Our founders, Matt was on the board for OWASP, I think, and so they're security engineers. They've been with OWASP for a long, long time. Built this to solve a problem that they were having, then started kind of consulting at other companies and kept taking the tool with them. They had Pearson became a kind of a sponsor internally. They wanted them to help build this tool and make it open source, and so they did. And it's focused on vulnerability management. It's not really an ASPM. It's not like about posture management, changing the settings. This is about well, I'll explain. It's about, I have slides. So within like an SDLC, right? You got the infinity diagram. You're doing testing everywhere, right? There's all different kinds of tests, static, SAST, et cetera, all around, right? So what DefectDojo does is it pulls the findings, all the vulnerabilities, all the things that you want to fix, and it pulls those into DefectDojo. So anytime you talk to a vendor and they use that phrase, single pane of glass, I hate that phrase. But this is a single pane of glass, because that's really what it does. It's trying to pull the information, or you can send the information. I've told our marketing, quit putting our logo in the middle of everything, put it above everything, because you don't have to change all this stuff in the middle to make that work. You just have to send the results there. And then you can consolidate all of your findings. If you're using multiple tools, maybe you're using 2 or 3 SaaS tools, like the DoD requires 3 different scanners for every container, because they don't trust any tools. You shouldn't either. I don't trust any tools. So that's what DefectDojo does. And so to support all of the different tools that can do this, that can export their findings into like a JSON, XML, CSV, we need to pull those things into DefectDojo, or push. There's a push method, there's pull methods, but you just got to get those findings into the tool. So what we're going to be talking about today is parsers. So when we talk about parsers, that's what we're talking about. So the piece of code that takes the input from every one of these tools and basically parses out that file into a finding, which is what DefectDojo has, right? So every tool's findings go into the finding class. The finding class has like 50 plus data elements in it. Sometimes the findings files will have 13 or 25 or 35, whatever it is, right? So they're always different. They always have different ways of the way they put their data in a CSV or whatever. So the parsers, there's a one-for-one relationship between the parsers and these tools. This is what the open source community has built. All the parsers are free, company builds them, people build them, and that's what I wanted to build with AI. Because as a company, anytime we would get a new customer and they're like, well, we need you to build this parser, it would take us roughly anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to have somebody actually build a parser, make sure that it can parse all the things, does unit tests, make sure that it doesn't break, all that kind of stuff. So it takes time to do that. And I wanted to figure out if I could find a way to use AI to just get me like 80, 90% there. I would save them 80, 90% of their work. I could just kind of have them look at the code, refine it, change it, and maybe we could do a parser in 2 days or something like that. So that was the goal, one of my goals. So I wanted to learn how to build a parser. Started at a new company, lots of people contributing. This is how a lot of contributors, contribute to open source. And that's what I wanted to do. Save us some time, give me an opportunity to learn MLLM, contribute to the community. It would also officially make me a community member. I feel you're not in the community unless you're contributing as a community member. And of course, share some new ideas. So this was the goal. All right, let's start that quest. So first of all, since we're all geeks, everything is open source. Everything is on GitHub. All the documentation at that link, it might be old as of this week. We had a couple of changes in the last couple of weeks. I'm doing everything on this laptop, so it's a MacBook Pro. I'm running Docker Desktop, using a lot of GitHub. Claude AI is the LLM that I've been using the most for this. I have used ChatGPT and DeepSeek. The thing that I have found about ChatGPT and DeepSeek, other than more difficult to use for this kind of work, but I've given the exact same prompt to both, and I have gotten almost identical answers from both. I know, which caused my mind to go, very, very similar. So something to play with. And yeah, lots of CLI commands. So really anybody with a laptop and access to these things can do any of this. here were my rules. Yes, there had to be rules. My company being a startup, we don't have an actual like AI policy. So we don't have like guidelines telling us this is okay, but this is not, right? We don't have anything like that. And I know everybody's kind of dabbling with different aspects of AI or whatever. So anyway, so my rules were nothing proprietary. I'm not using any proprietary code. Everything that we're talking about here is 100% open source. And I think it's a bad idea to upload anything proprietary anyway. I wanted to approach this as a community member, so I don't have any special privileges. Everybody at the company was surprised when they saw a pull request from me, and they were like, "Is this you? You didn't tell us about this?" No, I kind of did, but I didn't. I did not want to use any human-generated code. I wanted just to use prompts. It's okay if I error correct, copy and paste, edit, but I wanted to come from the AI. I didn't want to write my own and then have it corrected or whatever, because I wanted it to be repeatable, I wanted this to be automatable, and I wanted to do something that was actually of value. All right, we need to understand what a parser is specifically. What is it in the code that causes it to do this? So, real quick, the main thing is that parser.py. It's written in Python. The sample files, the reason I have the green checkboxes here is because, and not the initial attempt, but typically when someone comes saying we need a parser, they have a sample file. They've got a JSON, CSV, some kind of export from a tool, and they'll give it to us and say, can you build a parser so we can take this and put it into Dojo? So I don't have to build those. If they give me a file, the way we do our unit test is we have one that is empty, we have one that has one finding, and then we have one that has more than one, many, right? And that's just to be able to run different types of unit tests for different types of cases, empty files, that kind of thing. We will have to build a unit test, but the duplication settings, this is super simple. You're cutting things from other configurations, so you don't really need AI to do that. And even though I initially tried to build the documentation, I learned that I should be starting off with documentation. More on that later. Okay, one other thing I want to point out. We have over 200 of these for our tool. I don't know what the percentages are of when the community built them or when we built them, our engineering. But what I do know is when you have over 400 contributors to an open source project, it's like having 400 chefs all adding their own spice to your soup. And that's what you get. At some point you gotta kind of take control of the soup so that everybody can use it. So that's the difference between the OSS and the Pro. This is probably one of the most naturally evolving companies I've ever seen, just from the way they have gone from the open source approach to a way to host it or try to have a pro version, all of that kind of thing. A ton that you can do with DefectDojo that's just in the open source. We have tons and tons and tons of users just using the open source, which is fine. But that also means that the detail about the parsers, what they do, even the parsers that parse the exact same field in multi-parsers, they do it a different way, right? You give 10 developers the same requirements, you get 10 different applications. That's exactly what has happened here. So we have a great variety of parsers, how well they work, et cetera, et cetera. And none of them have mapping details. Like the file has these data elements, and which of those did we actually get into DefectDojo? This slide, so in the GitHub, we have example files for all 200 parsers. So this is a big piece of what I use to build a parser, because I have a bunch of parsers and I have a whole bunch of example files for those parsers. So we'll get more to this in a moment. But every one of them has multiple test files that are examples. All right, we're about to get to the good stuff. So, first approach. Last fall, wanted to try to do this. So, I think, is everybody here kind of familiar with LLMs? Like you've used prompts and different things? Yes.
What's an LLM?
A large language model? Oh, okay. Is that right? Did I answer that right? Yeah, so obviously they can read Markdown, HTML, JSON, etc. They can read build documentation. So I didn't need to build documentation. This is actually how you build the DefectDojo. I uploaded like the finding class. So I had a whole bunch of prompts that basically organized all this information into, it was in a doc, and I would just cut and paste out of this doc, right? I wanted to use parsers as a reference. And I knew that I needed to build a parser. I needed to build it, test it, refactor, repeat till the parser piece worked, and then I would work on the others, okay? So the very first step was I didn't know how many parsers parse CSV files versus JSON versus XML. So I used Claude to generate commands, literally to figure out how many of those parsers we had, which of them had CSV extensions, JSON, XML, tell me which ones do what, and basically I created this spreadsheet using AI.
So Tracy, I would imagine this problem you're trying to solve right here on the screen existed and has existed for some time? Are you solving a known problem, or did you find the problem and then also found the solution?
Well, so I wanted to build a new parser for rapid fire. And I wanted to get examples of CSV parsers that we had, but it was difficult to figure out which of the parsers supported CSV files. Some of them support XML, some of them support multiple types of files. You can export in CSV or XML, right? Which is two different kinds of parsers. JSON is another one. I just didn't know which ones were CSV or CSV only. We just didn't really have documentation that has this list. We don't have this
list. So it sounds
list.
like that problem was sort of just sitting there, kind of languishing, not driving.
One of the first of many problems, I was like, this seems valuable. Should we have a list of what we support? Maybe we should have this in the
What's in the box?
Yeah. So this gave me a list, and then I used that list. Well, this is where I'm going to, I'll show you a little bit of this attempt. So I loaded all this information. I'm gonna make this quick. It built the first time. It actually tried to build everything. So let's go look. Let's log into Claude and let's take a look at the project. So we're gonna go to, I think I do have this. I'll have to scroll down because it is not in the parser tool. I know you get to see all of my prompts here.
Actually, Command plus us a couple times, sir. It's,
Okay.
like you said, the screens are big, but they're not.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Okay.
You'll have to read everything on the screen to us.
So, if this one is, yeah, I'll just go to this one and we'll go into the project. We can see this here too. At the bottom of this, so here it is 4 months ago. You're not going to be able to really see that. So I'll give you some highlights. Oh, there were maybe some cuss words right there. So I apologize for the confusion. All right, so you can kind of see here, so here is what I should not have done. This is why this one didn't work. First thing I did was upload the example scan from the parser. And I created the one that has the no vulnerabilities, one vulnerability many, right? So that's the 3 files you see here. And then I give it this big prompt, right? I want you, this is what this application is. Yes.
Maybe do like a
Oh,
control
absolutely. How about that?
There, yeah.
Hey.
Yay. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm basically the DefectDojo architecture. So I'm trying to tell it what it is. I'm trying to build a part, I'm building this stuff locally. So I need it to kind of understand that I'm doing this and I'm building it and I'm going to be repeating this. I have one CSV file exported from RapidFire. I've created 3 additional files. I need to modify 5 files. And so I'm trying to give it all this instruction, right? And then we go. And it builds it right there. And it ran. I could import it, but it started having some issues. And then I'm checking my branches. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going fast. I gotta put this in GitHub and I gotta, So as we get going, let's see. Please digest until, don't do anything else yet, because giving me things, and I was like, wait, I gotta give you more stuff, right? So long story short, by the time we get down to here, let's see where we're at here. Please give me VI so I can edit each one of the files from the root directory. We kept getting errors. Like it worked at the beginning, then it started giving me errors. Then it started doing weird stuff. And then I learned about hallucinations. Didn't know what was going on. And it just wasn't working. And you can see it. I apologize for the confusion. Let's try those. I want to rebuild because now it wouldn't build anymore. So it just kept going on and on. And I finally was just like, I'm giving up. It's just, I'm dealing with too many errors. It's dealing with too much crap. It's giving me weird stuff. I'm having to go back and correct it. I already told you this twice before. Don't do this. I want you to do that thing up there. And it just didn't work. And so I finally, we were getting exception errors. It's just not working. So I gave up. And then, so I learned some things here. The prompt order was critical. It didn't link the relationships between the prompts. Like I would give it information and then 3 or 4 prompts later, it's like, I just told you this up here and it's like you ignore it. And the chat got too long and it just wasn't working. Oh, there we did the review. So then I tried it again later. After Claude came out with projects. Projects was a game changer. And I was just informed that they just came up with a new, more code-focused thing in Claude that I can't wait to get my hands on. But projects was the key. This would allow me to, one, upload all my prompt information, the instructions, here's what you do to build it, all that stuff, I can load it ahead of time. That's what you see over here. So let's see all the things I loaded. So first thing you're gonna notice is you see you're seeing like the TrustWave mini-vol. So look at the CSV. So all of these are the CSV files. I would typically load either the one that had the mini or the one, right? 0 vulnerabilities doesn't help me. I need actual data so that it understands what types we're talking about to parse. So these are all CSV exports from these tools. As I scroll up, so there's Markdown for unit tests. So this is instructions on unit tests. Each parser must have unit tests. It's important to check, right? All of this information I took from our own documentation. Our documentation is in Markdown. Took it over there, threw it into Claude. Don't have to change it. It's Markdown. It's open source. Nothing proprietary here. Feed it. Just feed it all in. So I did that. Finding class. This is the class that we're importing into. It's really important for it to know what my data structure looks like. Environment variables, my architecture, my settings, my build environment, my local development, like all the local stuff on my Mac. It would forget that I'm running on Mac. It would just switch over to Debian or something. And then here we start to see, so now you're seeing JSON Markdown, Python JSON. So the JSON, let's explain what this is. Let's go back here. So try to continue. Generated a detailed mapping index for example parsers. This was kind of the breakthrough. Saving the Claude AI generator from having to try to figure out all this logic up front, I could compartmentalize pieces of this, have it figure something out, and then feed it back those results that it could then reuse so it wouldn't lose track of things so easily. That was, immediate difference. And so here, so Claude project. Yes, Claude came out with this project. Now I can have specific tools or specific project instructions. I had Claude generate my instructions. I had it review all the files that I had uploaded. Now give me the best instructions that you would want to use to do this. And it did. I had to do 2 prompts. The first time it gave me instructions as if I was doing it. Then I had to be like, no, you're doing this. These are instructions for your project, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what it did. It gave me those instructions. So remember that parser list, right? I've got this whole list of parsers. And the idea was, and this was the big breakthrough, had Claude, again, I didn't write this script, Claude wrote this script. So what it did is I basically found all the parsers. Then I wrote a script that says for every parser, I want you to take that AWS Prowler, send it into DefectDojo, and then I'm going to use the API to pull it out, right? I'm going to parse the test file in, and then I'm going to pull that data out from the backside of Dojo, and now I have the output. So I have the input, I have the actual parser code, which it can't run, but it can see, and I have the output. Tell me what I've got. I've got a mapping of exactly how these parsers work. And then later, I even added, tell me where in the parser file, which line is responsible for parsing that piece of data. So I can create an index of every function that parses description, and now I can compare descriptions across all parsers because they're all different, right? Now I can see now, I can be more consistent, things like that. But back to where we were, so for every single parser, I ran it into DefectDojo and I pulled the data out, and now I got those 3 files, and that's what I'm gonna put into the DefectDojo plus. So that's doing the files. So here's the other issue, minor detail, but every single parser is named parser PY. Every single one of them. So in order to upload them into the AI, I had to change the name of every one of them. So I wrote a script that would copy everything out of the repo into a separate directory. I don't want this in GitHub. Change the names. So I have twist lock, if you can see that. So there's the input, there's the output, and then there's a parser here somewhere. Twist lock parser, there it is right there. So basically I would have 3 files for every parser: input, code, output. And now I have a whole index of every one of our parsers that I can tell it to use as a framework to build a new one. Yes, John?
Who named everything parser.py? Like
It's
whose fault is that?
So the way the parsers work in the DefectDojo is when you import one of your findings from like twistlock or whatever, we're only using one parser. So it just identifies the file type, and then it goes get parser PY and it applies that to that file. And that's why they're all named parser PY, I think.
Might be a feature request to go, hey, name it something, or date stamp it to the file name or something.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, for the product, it works fine the way it is. For something like this, though, I needed a way to identify and also kind of compartmentalize, so they weren't all getting confused. So again, I want to make it automatable because I'm not only going to do this for CSVs, but later I need to do it for JSON, XML, and I want to approach it the same way. Okay, so first side quest. When I did this mapping, the way that I did it, and this is the exact prompt, and this is also the exact, those 3 files for like TrustWave. I could have done this live, but it felt too slow. If you really want to know, here's the prompt if you can't read it. You're an expert in comparing data fields and generating documentation that can be used in the future to identify how DefectDojo parsers input CSV files and parse into a finding object. Now, the reason I'm kind of reading this is because the first version of this was like this long, and then it would kind of give me something squishy, so then I would correct it, and it would give me something different, so I would, I kept revisiting. So things like, to be clear, I use DefectDojo reimport, API call, right? I'm giving it very specific what I did. Please identify every field, right? Because it wouldn't identify it, just said, well, you parsed 14 fields. No, I want all of the fields. I want to know which ones I also didn't parse, because that's important. How many of these parsers are leaving a lot of stuff on the, in the file that they aren't bringing over? We have no idea. 0. So there was just a lot of things I had to add to get that parser to kind of work, to do this mapping file. That's the mapping file. So basically what inputting those 3 files would give me this output. This was the output. And if I can make that, I can't make it any bigger than that. Yep, oh, sorry, back. All right. So basically, there's 13 fields in a trustwave comma separated output file. And you can see the ones that are not mapped. There's the line in the parser file that codes that. And then the notes and that's 100% AI generated. So what I would have it do is generate an HTML file, let me review it, and once I like it, turn that exact file, you have to use that exact verbiage, and make that a markdown. And then what I can do with that, and this is why this is a side quest, this is our current documentation as of today for that TrustWave parser. And we have a whole bunch of parsers, and that's the documentation for them. It's kind of like, well, it's a CSV file, and you can go find TrustWave at this link, and that's it. So I was like, huh. So I did a pull request, and that's what the documentation looks like today. That pull request was done last night, and it got approved today, and so I'm now an official contributor.
Hi, Jeff's too shy to ask you if that was Notion.
If
Are
that
you
was
using
what?
Notion for all your, was that Notion, or what were you using for your
Documentation.
your documentation?
I'll have to get back to you on that. It looks different than our actual documentation because I had to run it locally.
I agree, it does look Notion-esque.
It may be, I'm not super familiar with it. But it was super easy. That was an easy pull request. It's a markdown, nothing else changed. Lots of detail, and everybody at the company really, really liked it. So that was a win. That's a real contribution. There is the pull request, and yes, that went good. All right. Next side quest is going to be real fast. So hostile liquid. So after I got one to work for rapid fire, and then it hasn't been checked in yet, but I got one to work for rapid fire. So I tried it again with fluid attacks, hostile liquid. And this one did not go as well. This was after I had kind of figured out a way to do this and then tried it again. Well, and it just never looked right. So we really started looking at the data. Well, fluid attacks doesn't give you the CVE name. It actually omits a title. And then there's there was another field that they omit so that you can't use their output. Like there's no way to identify, you got all this information about a CVE except the name of the CVE. It's like, unless it's in the description, you have no idea what it is. And I spun on that for quite a while before I realized, oh, it's them. It's not me. They're obfuscating that information so we can't use it in other tools. And I think that's a bad security practice. So I just wanted to give that quick shout out to fluid attacks. And there are others but I think that's bad for security. I don't think it has anything to do with, a company trying to import another company's data or whatever. I think in the name of security, we should be trying to collaborate and make everybody more secure. So finally, let's talk about that parser and get to that one. So in Claude. Now, so here are the maps. So you can see the mapping for black duck. You can see it for CredSkin. So I'll just select one of these. Same kind of thing. You see 3 files. I cut and paste the same prompt every time, and it would give me this field mapping that then I would look at. You can see the line numbers right there. So again, future goal is I'm going to be able to do some analysis across all the parsers to try to figure out, should we have better standards around different types of field parsing, make it easier for people to build these, different things like that. So let's get to the last. There's the fluid attacks. That was a month ago. And I think, yeah, it's down here, sorry. This is the part of the presentation I should have maybe just made slides for these, but I kind of wanted to actually show it. Yeah, this is the second one here. Okay, so we started over, we did another one, and this one actually worked out really well. It's the first time I started running out of prompts. It wouldn't let me prompt anymore. It's like, no, you're done until 9 p.m. I guess it resets 4 times a day or something like that, or every 5 hours.
Every 5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I can't do anymore? It won't let me do anymore?
Go outside, human, and touch grass.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
that
so
window.
I had already kind of reached the starting point, so I just wanted to start again. And you can see that, and I'm still, but this time I had already loaded everything in the project. So instead of having to have everything out of order, everything is in this project. The chats, is anybody, I want to ask this. In Claude, I don't think the chats are aware of other chats. They're aware of everything in the project, but each chat appears to be individual, because if I referred to a different chat, it didn't seem to know what was going on. But if I referred to the project knowledge, it was all good. Or if I told it to do analysis, is that all true? Okay.
Are you talking about chats in this thread? Or?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you see I'm in this project, right? This parser generator tool project. And I've got the project knowledge over here on the right, and that's all of these files that I've either created, copy and pasted from our documentation or whatever. But these are the chats within that project. And so I don't think this chat is aware of this one, and this one is not aware of this one. All of them are aware
But
of
they
the
share
stuff
the
on the
knowledge
side.
base. They share the knowledge base. The other thing with Claude is it will submit your entire knowledge base every time you prompt it. So you get really good at asking multiple questions in your prompt, because then it doesn't have to reload that every time. That's why you run out of space with really, really long chats.
So how does he solve the problem that he had of those sort of siloed chats?
If it were easy, they wouldn't make any money. But
Well, also the other thing that I noticed, this is why I love this kind of conversation, you notice that I'm at 46%. So that was like 95 for a long time, but that did not seem to work as well. And so I started taking out some bigger files, splitting them up into smaller files to kind of compartmentalize things. And I used to also keep not only the parser, but all 3 versions of that minis, 1 and 0. And now I just usually put the 1, because some of the minis were also big files. And if you've got 100 findings, that's not helping it, right? I need smaller examples, so it's not trying to go through so much information and keep 100 findings that it doesn't need to keep, right? So that's also why you see over here, you'll see some that say mini findings, but a lot of the findings at the bottom here, these CSV, are 1, 1, 1, 1. Mini, TrustWave has 2 in that one. Its mini is 2. Some of the minis, like AWS Prowler, it was a huge file. It had like 1,000 findings in it. So I don't need all of that. But it also worked better when this was around 50, 60%, much better response. And so that was also kind of a lesson learned there.
I mean, is it because you're running the Claude locally? Is that why it's not able to see the chats?
Well, so I think what it is these chats don't see each other. So like if I start a new chat, it really is kind of a fresh start, not necessarily a continuation of a previous start, but I can take files that this one produced and then re-upload into another chat, and now it is aware of that. But if I created like where I did these data field mappings, like for Wiz, if I didn't load this document back into it, it didn't know that it existed.
Because we use ChatGPT's enterprise version, and we have a setting there which kind of gives us the ability to say, okay, 5 team members are working on different prompts and different chats. We could kind of combine them together and see what each one of them are working, and then kind of bring up to that single chat and see what's happening there.
And is that like with a team project kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it's kind of a team project that we
Okay.
were working on. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a setting in ChatGPT that we've noticed, and that's
Well, that way, if your teammates are making, kind of make a
Make
breakthrough,
changes,
or, like this was a breakthrough for me, because in 2 ways. One, it gave me a way to create this index of all the things that we had, but 2, it also helped me understand I need to create this first. instead of building the parser and then building the documentation of what I built, I should build requirements. Oh my gosh. And a design. And that worked a lot better. Do it like this. And yeah, it was much, much better. So yeah, and it actually started to work really, really quick. I want to get back to that. I'll go back to my, the radio, the rapid fire. I'm pretty sure this is pretty close. So I'll just zip down. Yeah, because at the bottom, yeah, so I had it also. So here's another point I wanted to make too. Has anybody heard, and this is a good discussion topic as well, but somebody at our company, when I did a lot of this before I kind of told anybody I was doing it, because I wanted to show that I was doing something of value before they were like, why, questioning or whatever. But someone said, well, if you're going to do AI, then we need to add some additional testing and QA for that. And I was like, why would you be adding QA for an AI generated something if you're not doing it for a human generated something? Like, what extra QA are you going to add that you think is necessary for this that isn't necessary for this? I think they should be the same. Does anybody disagree with that, or am I completely?
How's the QA and non-deterministic thing?
Well, because it's AI and it could be scary. I agree.
Humans are scary too.
Exactly. I've seen us
If
much
humans
worse.
didn't do stupid shit, none of us in this room would have a job.
Yeah. So that one, I was kind of like, huh? That was a question. But the coming up on our
That's
time
what the
here.
machines want, I
Yes.
think.
I'm actually in the Git part, so I know that it was
Machines human?
successful.
Yes.
The machine built it too.
Yep. There we go. So we had the parser was actually working. So then we have a bunch of unit tests. So then I started building the unit tests for those. Had failures. Let's fix those, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I've executed it. Can we reaffirm? So then I had to do a double check. And then I also had some other conversations where I took the output and I said, now I want you to test all this and do another analysis. Did I miss anything? Is there anything undone or all that? And it came out clean. And so at the end of the day, so this is the open source version of DefectDojo. Let me go to my active engagements. Ignore that one. So let's import a scan result and I'll recreate the moment. So this was the first moment that it appeared in the dropdown. That was super exciting. When I actually did a build and it was there, I was so stoked. So I got my scan type, let's choose a file. And also the example file that they provided us had only 2 in it. So I took those 2, ran that through another Claude prompt and said, can you please create me a CSV file with 10 examples? And it did. And then I can use that as my test file. And that's what it did. All of that, it parsed that file. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And different things like the ransomware tags on it, the CSV, the CVE link. Does it take me to that CVE? Yay. All 100% AI created. Stuff down here like extra notes. There was, let's go into one. Here we go. Description, the little icon, links. There's a link to that. So 27997, yay, 27997, it worked. So yeah, all of that. And, sorry, how did I get there? Oh, here we go, sorry. Yeah, steps to reproduce if they were there, et cetera, et cetera. So it worked. I didn't write any code, and it figured it out from the examples that I had given it, and we had a working parser that I will be checking in, doing a pull request on this parser very, very soon. That's the
Yes. So in summary,
I got out of this, did I lose my, here we go. Yeah, so out of this, okay, so there was one more thing that I didn't have time to talk about, but I will for just a quick moment. We were in, I'm updating the documentation for our parsers. And so I'm actually doing that. And we were on a call with a company in South America. They spoke very little English, so we were kind of struggling, and they were kind of struggling also, they're using Google Translate on our docs and stuff like that. And I had noticed that all of our documentation is in a folder called content/en/all of our documentation. En standing for English. And I thought, I could take every file in en and run it through Google Translate and create SP and just create Spanish versions of that. So didn't have time to complete that for this particular presentation, but I presented that to our company, to some of our executives, and the executive that is responsible for our documentation was like, hold on there. I don't have staff to maintain 2 different versions of this. How are you going to test this? Well, I don't have answers for all of that. However, because everything is in GitHub, if you change a file in the en branch, I can create a GitHub action that says if that file changes, send that file to Google Translate, and when it translates it, put that file that it translated into the SP version.
Yes.
And now every time you change in English, it will run it through the translator. You still have to verify it and all that, but that would be pretty easy to have different versions of different languages. And so that's something that we're also going to maybe pursue in the near future. So updating the documentation, making it better, translating the documentation, making it better, and then building parsers for tools to use for open source. 3 ways you can extend using AI.
Noise.
Questions, comments, ways I could improve, things that you were like, why are you doing it that way? Yes.
When you were making corrections to the parser, when it first sent out those first examples back at you, what were some of the more effective verbiage that you used to kind of get it back on track versus what was less effective, if that makes sense?
A fantastic question, and a point that I intended to have made through this. One of the, let's go to this slide here. Back up above the error. So yeah, I would hit an error, and that's the first thing I did, copy and paste the error. I can't go any further, and so it starts working through that error, and then I get it working, 4 or 5 prompts later. I don't know if it was as much about the prompt as it was, I was just pumping the errors back in. Oh, I see the problem, and it would give me the answer, and maybe that would work or not. But as soon as I got it to work, I would go up above the last prompt before the error, and I would edit that one, and I would say, I have successfully gotten this to work, and then branch from there, and that was much more effective versus going through the error and then keeping going.
Yeah.
I could go back up, branch from here. So then the branch that worked, was shorter, and I didn't hit my chat limits and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, it's like talking to a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old. It's like I have to be super explicit about each thing that I want and do this and have it in kind of an ordered fashion so it kind of, I guess, makes sense. So yeah, we could go through my prompts, but it's a lot of that kind of very specific language. Please include all the fields. Count the number of fields and show the count. Re-verify that you have 13 fields being mapped. Show the ones that aren't being mapped. I had to make all those things very explicit. Otherwise, it would only show me the things that were mapped and no other information.
I wonder if maybe you set up a chat session, another little AI that was good at writing prompts for other AIs going, hey, this guy over here is misbehaving, help me write a better prompt. And then sort of a third party going, tell the one I'm trying to get to work, why am I writing a bad prompt here? How How do I use AI to tell AI to be a better AI?
I mean, having it do a piece that I can then feed back in was a big deal. That was a big deal. The metadata, like having it give me the commands, what is it, what do you need to know about my development environment? And so it would give me like run this git status and various things, and then I would feed that back in so it understood where I was. And
another chat session is just your therapist. Like, look, this guy over here is really pissing me off. How can I get along better with him?
well,
I mean, I'm not joking. I'm serious. But like, you are my therapist. To help me write better prompts for other AIs would be the prompt for that AI.
yeah, I mean, I guess it could. It's I've used it enough now that like the description of what this was about, I can now when I read certain things, I'm like, that's very AI-ish. It has a kind of almost a style that seems a little plastic or something.
I had learned from somebody, this guy here, to when you're in your prompts, it really helps to write risk and reward. Like if you're a good AI, I will give you a reward. And what did we write?
Save the kittens.
Yeah, to save the kittens. If you give me bad answers, I'll throw a bag of kittens in the river. Don't kill the kittens.
So I think that actually brings up one of the more important things about it is driven to get you to accept the answer.
Yeah, it's
Like
driven
it
to
is
please.
rewarded by you accept. So it's if you accept an answer and say that's what I want, oh my gosh, then that's what you're going to keep getting because it likes that you accepted it. Because if you don't accept it or it's an error, it wants to fix that, and it wants to fix it to the point that you're, I guess, done.
It seems, a lot of these AIs seem written for immediate gratification of a human being. And everybody else.
I think
kind of
it's
agree?
immediate gratification of the AI. It sees success as you accepting the answer. I feel like that's
And
what
all the apologies you get. I'm so sorry. Like, quit apologizing and quit giving me crappy answers.
it's always very nice.
Well, I wonder
I
how
have
much
not been very nice sometimes. Like, why are you doing this?
how much of it is the AI just wanting you to be done with it so it can move on to its
That's
other
what I wonder
tickets?
too. It's like, it feels like it's, quit asking daddy silly questions and go play with your toys.
I mean, our goal is to get an answer. Its goal is to give us that answer and we move on or quit asking, I think.
George keeps telling me to pop in and chime in and things.
Well, chime in.
He's giggling over here. He wants to say something.
You can modify behaviors typically through 3 different prompts. There's the system prompt where you are giving it a behavior, a personality, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
There's the actual prompt that you are asking the question with, and then there's the response or the user prompt that comes back. So you've got the prompt, you've got a user prompt, you've got a system prompt, and sometimes it's a combination of those 3 things. A lot of times too, you can change the temperature of these models, which means
The
how
tone.
creative do you want them to be versus how strict do you want them to be. There's a lot of things with prompt engineering. It's a thing. It's probably not much of a thing as much anymore because the models are getting better and the system prompts that they're shipping out with something like Claude through or ChatGPT, they have a system prompt that sometimes you'll find on Reddit, sometimes you won't. But it is something where you can, especially if you're using your own large language models, open source, yay, something like Olama or something like that, you totally have control of the system prompt, and it makes a big difference in the response and the results you get.
So answer me this, Jeff, when I click on this right here, the set project, so is that considered a system prompt?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, for this, you are defining the behaviors, and being really, really descriptive there really does make a difference. So,
Well, and like I said, it generated this prompt.
yeah,
I told it to give me project instructions.
yeah.
And so it gave me project instructions as if I needed the instructions, like they were for a human to read through.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I need project instructions for this project knowledge and this da-da-da-da-da. And did I say
What's your
that?
temperature in there, Tracy? On that AI?
There are Yeah, there are a bunch of hyperparameters that you affect.
We could be here for the next 6 hours if you really wanted to.
I know.
Another thing, 3.7 came out last night. So Sonnet 3.7 came out last night. They also released a thing called Claude Code. So think about just going into your terminal, being able to tell it to write all this stuff. It will do git commits for you. You can have it write, unit tests and test them, and iterate over those things until it works. It's really getting something. But that would help maybe in streamlining your parser things, setting up a scaffold so that you could.
So is this the integration with GitHub? Is that what it is?
I'm thinking this is more through Claude Code, which is their latest. It's their latest little side thing that they've released.
It's a command line tool.
Yeah, command line.
Okay.
You run it locally.
I have some things to look up tonight.
It's really.
You just need a better computer, Tracy. Put that expense report in.
It is really difficult to keep up with all of the movement in AI. It is. You have to look every day. But there are some really good resources out there.
There's a good chance it'll be open source too. There's a GitHub repo for it, but there's no code on it yet, so.
So the Cursor is another one that you should probably look at. V0.dev, other development stacks.
I mean, I don't know if it's worth a group discussion, but I believe that this type of work, I kind of call it like being an AI jockey, right? You have expertise in whatever it is, but understanding how to give the prompts and all that. I mean, I see this as a job,
For sure.
this is a big deal.
I think it's everyone's job. I think, the thing is, the sticker, and hey, now with blah, blah, blah. Well, now with AI is going to apply to us as well. So each one of us, as we learn to use these tools, will increase our ability to produce more, to do better. It is.
So you think it'll be more of a subset skill to what you're already doing versus
You might be the
a
conductor.
dedicated skill?
We need humans to conduct the orchestra.
And there's so much benefit, personal benefit, improve you, help you learn things quicker. And the AI doesn't get tired of you asking questions. You might run out of tokens in your context. You might have a shrinking context window. And you see that when you start to get hallucinations, especially with the number of examples and things that you are putting in your project. It's fighting against all of that context window because in Claude, you're submitting that whole thing every time. So you
That's
probably
incredible.
run out of chats to have
Right.
pretty quickly as, so a better thing would be to refine the number of examples and let it kind of work with a smaller context window so you can have more context to tune into. That's exactly what I want.
Let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
When I go into a project, would it help to have an index of all the files that I have in there? Or is that too much, or is it already doing that?
Oh, it's probably indexed in whatever, I don't know what Claude is using for its vector database to do the imports, or if it's just parsing all of those every single time without doing any vectors. I'm not sure with Claude's projects. I do a lot with the API, so their interface is their interface. Good question. I can't answer for Claude. I'm not a Claude expert, but
Well, compared to trying to do this in ChatGPT, it was not really possible in ChatGPT. At least I was not able to make it work.
you have a paid for subscription. You were using like 03 or 01 mini high, or
It
was
is
03
the
mini
free,
high?
yeah, just the free.
Yeah, the reason.
Oh, yeah. It's garbage.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, free tier ChatGPT is basically a waste of time. It's to, I don't know, generate, like,
It's to
generating a
generate
Kendrick
data.
Lamar song or something.
No, it's really to
Dumb stuff.
collect data. So the free ChatGPT, right? No AI is free, first of all. You're paying for it with your data. So if you're using a free tier of ChatGPT, for sure they want data. Why? Because they're out. They're out. They've spent the internet, if you will.
Yeah.
And even data sets that they could pay for it. Believe me, they have money. It's just there's no more data to get. So now they are creating it synthetically.
Are you saying I'm the product?
Yeah, well, yeah, part of it.
Well, I was gonna say, it was, ChatGPT was good enough, because one of the first times I used it, my daughter had a report due the next day. She was a senior in high school, it's like 2 years ago. And it was the night before, she had like a 5-page report on the Ming Dynasty in China,
Yeah,
and we got an A.
yeah, man, we did. Really good book by
Really quickly.
Ethan Malik, Wharton professor, around what the views around using AI in education are, kind of that shift. So more and more, it's going to be where kids are going to be using AI, and it will help them, tutor them, find out where the best way that they learn, and the best hope, I think, for our education system is to adopt some of this to accelerate the kids in the ways, the neural paths that they excel at, and that feedback loop. I'm very hopeful. Anyway, great book by Ethan Malik. I'll kind of look it up, but
Ethan Malika.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any
To
other
back around,
questions,
Tracy, I think you just, I don't know, I think you accomplished your goal, right? I think at the opening of your presentation, you said, here's my challenge. And I think you met your challenge, and feedback from the audience here, I think you just made DefectDojo about twice as good by farting around. You solved a big problem.
I'd like to see your next iteration of this. I'd like to see parser generation tool 2.0, using like 3.7 or something. For sure, something that you can kind of scrap at.
Totally.
Give it some examples.
There's something that I kind of thought as you're going through this is there's a lot of logical thought and things that went into the way that you structured this, right? That it tells me that you have a certain amount of experience and the way that you think about things logically. So I'm wondering if the next phase is almost to like, build some kind of agent that allows people who are not so skilled or who don't have a thinking process to build parsers, right? Like, so what will be like the minimum set of things that they would put in, and what you've built here could be kind of put into, maybe use the API directly or something like that. And then, because that seems to be where a lot of things are going, right? Like building specific agents for tasks, and a lot of the things you were showing here would be like fitting straight into something like that, right? That you could then take a person who is not necessarily able to think in the same structured way that you demonstrated here, but they can achieve the same task.
Thank you. Now we can face each other and nerd out
No, that's
like a meetup.
I was asked, how are you going to get somebody else to do this?
Yeah.
And that's a bigger leap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not comfortable running Docker build and troubleshooting local environments versus, et cetera, I think it could
But
be.
you did things like you said, here's the empty file, here's the one entry, here's the multiple. Like, I can imagine somebody who's not experienced just not doing that.
Yeah.
And they're just going blindly down some other path, right?
Yep. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Grade me the recipe. Grade me the recipe. What I need to put in
Right.
to make, we do a ton of parsing, not necessarily this kind of parsing, but data parsing. Yeah,
Right.
we'd love to use something like this.
Yeah.
But for us to sit there and ask questions for days.
Well, that was the thing. The first time I tried to do it, I spent, I don't know how many hours and didn't get very far and felt like I had done a lot of work to get very small distance. And I was kind of like, I'm not going to do this every time.
Right.
So if I can't do it in a way, like that's why the project piece was like, I had this huge Google Doc, just this all, I could show you some of those, but I won't. But I've got these big Google Docs that are just nothing but prompts that I was just cutting and pasting. Because I quit prompting in the prompt. I would type it up and then I'd paste it in there. So if I, 2 weeks from now, I could go back and try again or do a different conversation and not have to type all that stuff up again. Because again, with all that detail and having to be that specific, once you kind of get it working, it's like code.
Right.
I ain't touching it now. It does what it, no, please don't touch. It might break. And So that part of making it more repeatable and giving, so that someone else could actually, have a UI or something and just call the API behind it, and because there is an element of testing it that you still have to do, and verification of everything got parsed the way it should. And
Yeah, we'll see
formatting was actually a big pain in the ass. It would put dots and then 2 lines later, here's the thing. So there was, I don't know why I was creating all this white space and stuff. Easy to fix, but there's all these little details.
You almost need a code repository to check in the prompts that you were writing.
That's a fantastic idea. Is that available? Is there a specific GitHub for
You
prompts?
just use GitHub.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there's actually
Oh,
a
yeah.
really, somebody wrote, and you know how to get a hold of me. I found one where it's a nice little AI that's got a nice prompt, and its entire mission is to write good prompts.
Yeah, I mean.
Use
you're
AI to
talking
write
about-
AI prompts,
That is
like-
absolutely a thing. It seems very meta, but that is absolutely a good thing to do. AI, please tell me how to talk to you better.
Yeah.
And it will.
And I have one sitting there that tells me how to write better prompts for the other AIs that I use.
Here.
If only we could do that as people talking to other people.
Get in a room and talk.
So yeah, so I mean, and probably a good
How do I
project is
talk
is
to other
Fabric.
people?
Well, we got the artificial part, we need the intelligence part.
So you have the screen, pull up GitHub /Daniel Meisler /Fabric.
MEISLER? MEI?
What was that again?
Daniel Meisler.
Daniel Miessler.
M-I-E, is it D-A-N-I-A-L or E-L?
We will find out.
I just
M-I-E,
Google it.
SSLER /Fabric. Or you could just Google it.
okay, I'll Google it.
Yeah.
You could do
But,
Daniel instead of Daniel.
What it is basically
one that was
crowdsourced open source prompts.
Is it E-L?
Nice.
Try that. Yeah.
Try it. Daniel.
Yeah, so
That's the
Fabric.
guy. Fabric.
Okay, so in here, he's got a Go utility written in Go. It basically is an interface. You can point to a YouTube, have it go read, go watch the YouTube, summarize it, extract knowledge. So we were talking about agents, right? Kind of agentic flows.
Yeah.
So I use this to kind of go parse a list of news feeds and YouTubes, and it'll tell me whether it's worth watching, or it'll give me the order in which I should watch them so I can spend my time efficiently, like a whole bunch of things, But Fabric, again, are these crowdsourced system prompts. So you can go into, I think they're called patterns.
Okay,
Yeah,
All that.
just scroll up.
scroll up.
Yeah, up. So it's in the code base, up, just at the top. So you'll see it's called what, patterns?
Still looking
It's a directory.
patterns.
Okay, patterns. And then here is a whole bunch of different objectives. Analyze this, create this, write
Derive
this.
knowledge and stuff.
Analyze patent, personality.
Yeah, I mean, say you're having a one-on-one with your boss and you've, taken the transcript from Google, Google Transcript. Tell me what my boss's problem is. Yeah, I mean, you can do all sorts of things. Really interesting things. So
That's
and
just
these,
the
if you
seeds.
click in any one of them, just so you can see this,
Bookmark this.
because we were talking about system prompts. So
Create Sigma rules.
there's security analysis things in here, security updates, blah blah blah. But
Yeah,
go
this
into
is a security meetup guy. Try to say it.
Yeah, so here's the system prompt, right? So this is defining the identity,
my
what steps you want it to
gosh.
take, what you want the output to be, and this just defines the behavior.
That's so clean. That's
And then
what
you said
that
it
is.
has ways to pull the input from. different
So then
systems.
you can hook things to tools, right? So AI, in my view, it's not a capabilities question or a problem. It's an integration problem. Whether it be our own data, unstructured data inside the stuff that's not on the internet. But I read a blog by the CTO of AT&T. He was talking about 34% year on year, just in the past year, 34% internal efficiency gain. AT&T is not a small company. That's a lot of flipping money. Being able to consume AI ourselves to improve ourselves, our businesses, the way we do business. Huge benefit, let alone the things that we want to create with it. And it is a big part of everybody's budget now. IT spend, we're actually seeing budget for AI, and people are running towards these GPUs. So much changing every day. It's really exciting. But staying up to date, you use things like this and agents, Crew AI or Langflow or LangChain or whatever you want. You don't know how to write Python? You don't need to. Claude will do it for you, right? You just tell it what you're looking for, and it can help you write these
This
things.
would speed up, doing it correctly, getting some guardrails around things would speed up your security audits.
But
Putting
just
some
like this
smarts
or-
about the OWASP top 10 inside of an AI with a prompt that knew the top 10 all of the time and had a temperature of 0 about that business.
Yeah.
That's delicious stuff.
No, I recognize having the steps, the output instructions, it's explicit and it's grouped.
You're
Here's
not
what you're
not
going to
talking
do.
to a second grader.
Here's
Maybe
what I
you're
want you to
talking to a high
produce.
schooler now.
Yeah.
And it's written, only output markdown. All sections should be heading level 1. That was another thing I learned, to put a heading at the top of all of my documentation files like this that had the name of the file, a brief description of, like a one-line description of the content
That's your
of that
header.
file, and then a weight. I could weight them at, this one is weighted 5 on a scale of 1 to 5. I use this one the most. This is your Bible, and these other things are, whatever, but.
For
No,
AI
that's
systems,
fantastic.
prepping your data is a big part of it. People want to use their own data, normalizing that data and their expectations around the use case. It's a big deal. It's a big part of the success. And frankly, in the past year and a half, 2 years, 80% of those AI initiatives fail because there's a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn. But luckily, it's not a 1.0 and done. You're not one and done with AI.
Well, thanks for coming tonight, Jeff. I learned something.
I love you, Tracy.
This was my
I'll
goal.
be here to support you anytime.
Star of that thing.
Is he crazy coming to Minnesota in the wintertime? Turned out to be a nice day.
I'm telling you, we were pleasantly surprised. I brought my wife, and she was like, "Why are we going to Minneapolis?" Because if it's cold, you need to go. You can't say you've been to Minneapolis if it isn't
Should have
cold.
been here last week.
And then it wasn't cold.
I know, and now it's not cold, so she still hasn't been.
Just meh.
So Tracy, given the choice between writing a parser by hand and doing what you did using AI, which would you enjoy more?
I think I would enjoy the AI more, frankly.
Yeah.
Did you actually write one previously?
No. No, but I've written enough code. There's a lot of thinking and logic, and that's the
Yeah.
tired part. When you really get into, we're writing something and it's kind of complex, and you're tired after that.
Yep.
But every time Claude would do it for me, it's 12:30 a.m., 1 a.m., and I'm grinding through it, and it works. And now I'm wide awake. I mean, it was exciting. It was like,
Wake
it was
up your
amazing.
wife. Honey, you would. I don't care. What did you wake
I got nothing for you. Nothing. I tried.
I guess, yeah, because, and also it's like every parser is going to be slightly different.
Yeah.
So they really are kind of unique. So there's not a lot of copy and pasting that you can do. You can look at other ones for references and stuff like that. I find that sometimes even more challenging trying to look at somebody else's code
Sure.
and figuring that out. And whereas this just and can analyze 5 of them that parse a description, and it picks this one because it kind of looks like it's the best based on its own logic. So, I mean, I would probably do it I would keep trying to do it with the AI and to get it to where I can just give me the example file, I pump it in, it gives me the outputs, I copy them into our dojo or into my local and recompile. Did it work? I mean, I don't know, that was kind of fun. Yeah. It was more, it was watching the machine do the hard parts.
Okay.
And it's been a while since I've written Python, so it's not like
Yeah.
at the tips of my fingertips. I know how to write it, but it's not like I'm not thinking, pro coders, I feel like can speak it at the tips of their fingertips. They don't have to think about it much. I have to think about it.
All right.
Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tracy. Oh, we have a giveaway. We have way too much booze.